the bridge to salvation, because that's what we are. We are that bridge to help you to salvation. And he says, Pa mitzar laye taklos, the bridge towards salvation. By B Pa munbab yanun, by the master Yanun, the master teacher Avatara Yanun. Antkum gasul khatatkum lakay najuf zi shalel wasak adjuf lane akalkum shalel wasak. It basically translates as, you wash your body to clean it of filth. Clean also your mind of filth. The bridge to salvation, or the bridge towards salvation. 1. Aniya mumrar nukradu shalel wu-sabat antkum adir pa mitzar laye pa mukradu shalel pa taklos. My beloved children of wu-sabat, you are the bridge to the children of the salvation. That was 1. 2. I, Pa Munbab Yanun, have incarnated with Pa Shafei, the cure to the people's ignorance with wu-sabat, and you, the children of wu-sabat, as Musbatu, Sabians, are Pa Mudmal'u, the doctors, Pa Mubla'u, the messengers, Pa Muklasu, the saviors. 3. Take this Shafei cure and break the spell of Kingu, Leviathan. 4. You in the 1600 living in the West were called the Wabanaki, Native Americans, which became many sub-tribes such as the Yamasee, gentle from the old ones, from the stars, and the Sazi. I am antique. 5. Musbatu, Sabians, Napatan, Nuapians, the African black people, originals of the Musnanu, the Sans people of South Africa, who spread the world over. 6. Yet those that remained in the motherland, Africa today, were taken into other Rasayat lands, first by the Mu'arabu Arabs of Marabia, Arabia. Next, the Mu'arabu Europeans of Meirapia, Europe, and to Amaria, America, to be in bondage for 400 years. 7. Yet that time has ended, and so must end the Akhadat beliefs and Takhut faith they were programmed to believe. 8. The religious mind spellbinding of the slave masters of both the Muhmaru, Reds, and the Mulbanu, Whites, Musfaru, Yellows, Edomites, Mu'arabu, Arabs, and the Mu'adamu, Adamites, Kakas, Nadu, Caucasoids. 9. The tribes Wabanaki, Wapanui, Munwapu, Yamasi, and Nasazi, Musbatu, Sabians were all the same, originating from Napata in Africa, from Ghana's Iwi tribe, Akan clan, and Liberia's Bassa tribe, as well as others found today in what is called Africa, and the Dongolawe tribe of Masdan, Sudan. Yet now unite all these into one people as Musbatu, Sabians of wu-sabat, and save the children, the bridge to your salvation. 11. I am a triune in one being, united in Trinity, indivisible as an incarnate deity. 12. I am Ya Nun, Ya Nan, Ya Nun, Nin Gish Zida, Melchizedek. I am Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, al-Khidir. 14. I am Malachi Z. Kobina York, Okran, Dr. York. 15. I was known as the Tahuti, Thoth. 16. I was known as Amun Nabab Reye, Akach Akpata, Amun Nubi Re Akpata, Amun Nubi Roak Pata. 17. I exist from eternity to infinity. I am with you always. 18. This is your salvation, Pa Taruk, the way, Pa Sawab, the truth. 19. Wu-sabat, Pa Taklus, the salvation. 20. I, Pa Munbab, Yanun, am the salvager of my people and all others who are willing to accept these actual facts. Wu-sabat. 21. Panen Kawun, Pa Pato Shalel, Pa Taruk, Laye Taklos, Lahe Musbatu. This is the opening of the way towards salvation for Sabians. 22. Musbatu, Sabians, know this, wu-sabat, is the authentic way towards salvation, which is inspired. 23. So declare it to whomever, wherever, and do not fear anyone who may retaliate against this doctrine, wu-sabat, this proclamation of truth. 24. It is a victorious guidance which shall bring to naught the fictions, legends, tales, myths, khadhabat, lies and cover-ups of Adamites, datat religions of 6,000 years. 25. And their abuses and injustices with the hakakat, actual facts of wu-sabat. 26. The straight way for those who accept and repent and return to who they are, not what they became. 27. Moreover, wu-sabat and musbatu, Sabians, will completely demolish the weak structures of blind faith and fake akhadat beliefs with the sahih rakhuk, sahih hakumdum, sahih fahum, correct right knowledge, knowing, right wisdom, right understanding, which raises you to sahih fahum, right understanding, which becomes jamed sahih, nakhash, sound right reasoning. All right, I'm going to stop there. But as I said, that was a little excerpt from The Bridge to Salvation. All right, let's see who's ready. Who else has joined us? Claudia, Rahubat. Oh, you know I can't move this. Anyway, I'll leave that. Right, let's see who's Sakhet, Rahubat. Okay, wow, we've got a lot of questions already. Okay, that's one person posting quite a lot. Okay, let's look at who's Alexandra Rahubat. Let me. I'm just greeting people first. 1 second. Alexandra Rahubat, Michelle Rahubat, Joe Kennedy Rahubat, Ibank Vazuz Rahubat. Okay, yeah. Rahubat, everyone. Sorry, I'm not going to have that much time to go through everyone and say Rahubat, but welcome everyone. Tua, let's go for the first question.
This one is from TikTok, from Marco Francis. Can you please elaborate on interdimension and extraterrestrial beings? What's the difference?
Okay. When you say dimensions, you have many dimensions that exist. The most simplest way of explaining it is that when you deal with densities, you have like a hard or physical dimension where things are more solid or very dense. And then you have other dimensions that are more like they're not as solid. So you go from very solid, like how you would say ice is solid in terms of water, but that water then can become liquid, which is less dense than the ice. because you're just rearranging the molecules, right? By applying like heat, for example, to the ice, and then the liquid becomes even less dense when you apply more heat, and it becomes what we would say steam or vapor. But that vapor will also go away, and you won't be able to see it anymore with the naked eye. And it goes further on into density levels that are even lighter. So everything that you see around is composed of an arrangement of atoms, and the more dense they are, the more like slower they become, the more heavier or more solid they become. And the faster the vibration going in the other direction, the less dense they become. So when you're quantifying things, you have things that are more dense than others. So when you look at, say, the periodic table, which describes the various elements and how the arrangement of the different atoms will give you, you know, like from the noble gases or gases to the solid. So like we said, going from solid, liquid to gas, or you can go from gas to liquid to solid, going in the other direction. So there are beings that are in different dimensions. So the difference between the dimensions is that if you are able to, say, transform yourself into a dimension that can go through the physical objects, like go through a wall, that means you're in a different dimension. Or like when we look at extraterrestrial crafts, to go to the second part of your questions, or extraterrestrials, they are beings that are within the same space but are in a different dimension, so they can change or slow down. So you can slow down your vibration and then go up or down. So you can personify, becoming a person. As you hear the word personify, person, you can become a person, or you can go into a dimension that is beyond, let's say, the visible spectrum. But it still exists. It's just that your ability to see into that dimension is limited because you only see between like 400, the visible light spectrum, 400 to 700 nanometers, you see. So you have many dimensions within the same space, but at different frequencies. So this is why when people sight extraterrestrial crafts, for example, they will see them and then they can just disappear. And that disappearance is because they just shift into a different dimension, and then they can come back into the dimension that you can see. So that's the difference between dimensions. So if you know how, you can transform yourself from a less or a more dense dimension to a higher vibration. So another way of looking at it is like, let's say you have disembodied beings that, like ghosts or beings that are around, but you can't see them unless you can see interdimensionally, or being able to see into that dimension. So there are people who can see people that, or shall I say, disembodied beings that are on the planet, and they will be like, you know, some, I can see a ghost or someone's there, and other people that can't see that ghost are gonna go, where? I can't see anything. You know, you're crazy. There's a movie called Ghost Town, you know, where it shows this visually, where someone can see the beings and the ghost around them because they're able to personify those beings, and others can't see. This is, again, a little bit different from saying intergalactically, right? So you've got different galaxies, and beings can travel from one galaxy to another galaxy. So we call that intergalactical travel, or going from one galaxy to another. And dimensions is just the ability to go from one dimension to another. Sometimes you may have to open portals or gates to be able to do that. So there are beings in other dimensions where unless you know the gateway or how to open a portal to go into that dimension, you won't be able to. But those dimensions superimpose each other, or they all exist in the same space, even though in science they will say, you know, matter cannot what's the word, be in the same space. But that's not completely accurate, because you can be in the same space but on different densities or different vibrations or different frequencies. All right. Okay, so that was that question. All right, go on then. Let's take a few from TikTok, because we normally kind of not focus on TikTok till the end, so we can give them a priority today, and then we come back to the questions in the chat.
This one says, do our ancestors watch us?
Yes, because you are connected to your ancestors, so your eyes are seeing everything, and it's almost like people forget that they are the conduit, or they're connected to their ancestors. So whatever you see, they see. But yes, this is what we were just saying about beings being on another dimension. It doesn't mean that because you can't see them, they can't see you. It's just that you're seeing from physical eyes. But as you know, you do have other eyes, like your pineal gland and what people call the third eye. We say the first eye. Yeah, that is how you're able to get what we call clairvoyance. Clairvoyance literally translates to clear vision. So you can see interdimensionally once you have clairvoyance. So you can see into other dimensions or see other beings without your physical eyes. You know this because when you go to sleep, what you call sleep, you do travel and go to other dimensions and other realms. So you see and experience things there, but your physical eyes are not with you at that time, because the physical skin suit may be lying down in the bed or wherever sleeping, but yet the essence of you is traveling and still able to see. So yes, they can see you and you can see them. They watch you, and our overseers, that's the word, overseers, they can see and they oversee. And you know, they're watching, and they basically watch over you. We call them the watchers. Yeah, that's another word for like overseers or the watchers. They watch and they record everything you're doing, because you record everything. You are a superconductor. Yeah, so an electromagnetic superconductor, meaning that you record things in energy form, you know, and everything you touch, see, feel, smell, all is recorded. And it's just recorded in what people may look at as, let's say, like discs, you know, these crystal discs, or discs that store information in the form of light. So yes, everything is recorded. Nothing you do is not recorded. And this is where religious people get the concept of you having two angels. You know, like in Islam, you have an angel on your left and on your right hand side that is there to record your deeds, that they say, you know, are going to be used for your judgment. So religion just kind of gives you a basic version of that by saying that once you're born again, or you're baptized, or you know, you go through some type of ritual, that's it. You don't have to do anything, but your actions are recorded, and they say that when you know, you're going to be judged on what and by what record. So yeah, everything is recorded. And if you want to read more about this, we have a master's secret known as the 24 Elders. There's part 1 and 2 that goes into it. We have another scroll, another master secret called the spiritual you after the physical you dies. That goes into this as well, where you can learn more about what takes place. All right. Do you have any more questions?
Does the visible light spectrum of light change with each dimension compared to our visible spectrum? So does the visible spectrum of light change with each dimension compared to our visible spectrum?
Yes, it does. So one of the most popular ones is when people go to what they call the soul realm. Okay, the soul realm is where you see those lights, different lights that people see, and they're like, I went to heaven and experienced this place called heaven, and that's where that you see the different lights. Remember, when we say visible spectrum, it, like everything else, when you're dealing with your senses, they're limited here because in the three-dimensional world, you're only limited to what it's based on touch, as you know, right? So it's like, how do you know that, for example, you can hear, but air and sound waves have to touch your eardrum for you to hear. And other beings, or like animals, for example, dogs particularly, they can hear outside the spectrum that we can hear in terms of the hertz. So that's what you research dog whistle. A dog, they can blow a dog whistle and the dog can hear it, but we can't hear it. And it's the same with so that's dealing with the ears. What has been exaggerated as your five senses, right? So you've got the ears, the eyes. The eyes can only see a particular visible light spectrum, but there is light beyond that limit. And so again, you're able to see outside of that once you go into these other dimensions. And then you have your mouth, which deals with taste. And again, something has to touch your tongue, your taste buds, for you to be able to taste. And your nose, for you to smell, again, something has to touch your nose for you to smell. And all of those are really the one of touch. And people can interpret touching as being aware or awareness, you see, or being aware that something is touching you. So, for example, you could be sitting down and there might be a tiny, tiny microscopic insect or, crawling on your leg. And as small as it is, you will feel the sensation because once it touches your skin, which is the biggest organ you have that's connected throughout your body, you will feel that sensation or that awareness that something is crawling or moving up your leg. And you might scratch it, touch it, hit it or whatever, but that's all based on touch. Yeah, so even though they say you have five senses, it's really one combined or exaggerated to five as touch. Then if you took that one and add the other four that you're not really as aware about, which are your intuition, telepathy, clairvoyance, and psychometry, you add those four to your exaggerated five and you end up with 9. But those 4 higher senses, you have to, you have to regain the mechanism which make them in your control, which is the barothry gland. The barothry gland, which is a gland that we once had, that we no longer have, and we have to work to prove ourselves worthy to receive it. And once you get that, you activate those higher senses, like your telepathy, intuition, psychometry, and clairvoyance. All right? Okay, let me take some questions from the chat. Let me just set the record straight with how these lives really should function. You should be coming on here to ask us questions about things we teach that you would like to know about, or information that you may have come across and we're here to answer questions, not really for people to just come and give their opinions. And this is wu-sabat, this is OSM, our souls matter. So if I see people just chatting and going back and forth and are not really asking questions, you know, I may just skip those, because there are people who genuinely have questions that we want to help address for them as they make their way into right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, which will lead them to sound right reasoning. All right, so I can't pronounce the rest of your name, so I'm just going to say Ibank. Can you make someone frequency higher by standing next to them? Yes, you can. Because the thing about when people interact, it's always an exchange of energy. One person gains and one person is losing. So this is why some people may be referred to as energy vampires, because they can literally suck or take energy from others. So yes, if you stand next to someone, they can feed off of your energy. It's just like if you're very, let's say, very motivating, positive person or being, you know, you can go in a room or meet people who may be low in terms of their vibration and frequencies, which we may say they are depressed. Yeah, depressed, meaning like you're being pushed down or pressed down. If they're depressed, or people say depression is depressing or pulling you down, right? So when someone is depressed, you may come around them and you're very bubbly, you're very, you know, enthusiastic and happy, and they say, you lifted my spirits up, right? Because I was down, because you have beings that are pulling you down and you have beings that can pull you up, ascending and descending beings. So yes, you're right that when you're around, like if you go into a very high vibrational room or energy filled with people that are very high, on a high vibration, it will help you. This is why sometimes, you know, people go to a concert or go to, you know, to listen to someone who their tones or their vibration, that when they sing or dance or whatever activity they do, they say, they use the word inspire, but really that's opposite. But yeah, they lift you up, they make you feel better, because they attach to your frequency and you bring them up in vibration. That's why wu-sabat is able to do that, because it gives you that mental clarity, and it takes away the fear, it takes away all the worry and the stress of the lies of religion, etc., etc. So yes, you can make someone's frequency higher by standing next to them, because you can charge them. It's like a battery, you're recharging or jump starting them. Yeah. Okay. We have a live caller. Rahubat caller. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question?
My name is Kerith Muir from Jamaica.
Greetings, Keris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Okay, so I have two questions. The first one is, can you be in the lower ethers, like 5 ether, and still be very energetic and vibrant? Because I'm looking at even an animal. An animal is in the lower ethers, and a lot of animals act even more vibrant and energetic than a lot of human beings.
But what do you mean when you say vibrant? You mean movement?
Excuse me?
By movement.
Okay, by movement. But I mean in terms of, like, when I say vibrant, I mean like in terms of spirit and energy.
What I'm saying is, just because you're moving erratically or moving, you're excited, or that doesn't necessarily mean that your vibration is higher than a being on a higher vibration that is silent or calm or not you know, as excited, because what you're looking at when you're saying animals, mainly if you think of an animal, what do? They may just be like running or chasing, or like if it was a dog, for example, what does a dog do? It waits for the owner to throw a ball or throw something, and they just run and they're excited to get the ball. They get the ball, they bring it back to the owner. So just because you're moving doesn't mean that you're on a higher vibration, because you could be moving very fast and still be on a low vibration. Because sometimes what you see is that people that are erratic or chaotic and just like very fast, moving fast or excited doesn't mean you're on a higher vibration. So you
could have somebody who is very excited, but they're not on a high vibration. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because to be excited it actually can mean that you're not. It's like, think about it. When people are in danger, yeah, when people are in danger and they say, let's say, for example, there's an emergency, it may be like there may be a fire alarm or something. What the advice you're given is what? To not panic, not run and rush, but walk slowly and exit in an orderly fashion. Because what happens is when people start to panic, they get excited, they start panicking, and then everyone starts getting frantic because they want to save themselves. And if they start running and everybody else starts running, there's a risk that everyone is going to fall and they're going to trample over each other. And then it causes more harm than good, because a calm person, someone that is in control of their emotions, because that's what you're saying. When you're saying movement is motion, and when you say emotion, you're saying energy in motion. So when people start to move because of the energy that is driving them to move, if it's erratic, then what's going to happen is that emotion causes them to cause more chaos, as opposed to being calm so that you can think. Because when you're rushing or in a haste, you're not able to think as clearly, you see. So when you watch most movies, and the people that they're generally very calm, and even some of the bad guys, they could be very evil and wicked, but they're very calm because they just give instructions to other people. So I'm just giving you a few examples that will show you that if everybody rushes, let's say there's no lifts if you're in a high building, and they're saying that calm down, take your time and walk down the stairs in an orderly fashion so everybody can get out and escape the fire. If people start rushing and they're frantic and it's chaotic, then they're going to cause more harm. So yeah, just because you're running and acting crazy doesn't mean that you're on a higher vibration. When people are on a higher vibration, they're generally more calm. Just like when you meditate.
Yeah.
When you meditate, you're raising your vibration and going to higher, receiving information, but you're very calm because you're still. And when you still the mind, you can focus it and direct it to get the result much quicker than when you're trying to multitask or attempt to multitask by doing more than one thing at the same time instead of focusing your energy. Like if you take laser is when you're focusing the light at a particular spot, you're more likely to get the outcome. Go ahead, Jamal.
But so about that though, so if a person is like even much higher than an animal, like they're 7 ether or even 8 ether, much less 9 ether, then a being like that should never really feel like they sit and they're in this state of feeling like I don't really want to do anything, or I feel it hard to get up and do anything.
Because that's what I'm saying. But you can feel that way, but that's because something or someone or some energy is pulling you down, or taking your energy. So you and it's about control as well, because you can be like, all you have to do most of the time is change your mind. So, like you say, if someone is feeling depressed, for example, or down and feeling low, that's either they're allowing their thoughts to bring them down, or other entities are pulling on their energy. And these could be entities that are seen or unseen, you see. So if you then go and do something positive, this is why wu-sabat in itself, the activities of wu-sabat keeps you on a high vibration, because you're reading and studying and you're activating new neurons in your what you call your brain, right? So this is neuroplasticity, where you're activating neurons, and that is then giving you the ability to raise your vibrational consciousness. And if you're studying the language, you're using tones and vibrations that are conducive to your well-being, and again, that will raise you up. If you're chanting and you're amongst other Sabians or Nwapians, then again, that the energy is going to be of a high vibration if they're indeed applying and putting wu-sabat into practice, because you won't be thinking of lower vibrations and like things that bring you down in terms of slandering, gossiping, just useless chatter, or attracting white noise, or the vibrations and frequencies that are bringing you down. So yes, if you're busy trying to like exercise, study, working on something positive to help people, teaching the doctrine, propagating the doctrine of wu-sabat, and just helping people, you know, you're going to be on a higher vibration. You won't really have time to be like slum and go down and like that. That's the slower negative forces that pull people down on those frequencies. Because when you're positive, trying to do something positive, your mind is active on a higher vibration.
Yes, but as to the part where I'm talking about animals, but even an animal, well, like to where an animal is in terms of ether and vibration, even an animal can be very happy, right?
But I'm saying, when you say happy, that's an emotion that is subjective, because what you may consider happy might not be what somebody else considers as happy. And what I don't understand, you're laboring this point about animals. What's the real point? What is it you really want to know? Because an animal is on a lower vibration, because like we say, animals don't have soul. The soul is what pulls you up into the higher vibrations of the higher realms. So I think you're trying to associate an animal being active to that meaning that they're happy or that they are on a high vibration. That's not the case. And an animal.
I'm not saying that animals are higher in terms of vibration. I was just trying to get at, like, since I noticed that, like, when I watch a certain documentary and I saw a certain animal acting very vibrant, and it was very happy to see this human that approached it, I'm thinking that if an animal can be that energetic and vibrant, that means us humans who are in the higher ethers have no reason to be depressed or
Right, but what I'm saying
energy.
is, I hear you, but what you're doing is you're misinterpreting what the animal is doing. Like, meaning, like most people who have dogs, right? I'm just using dog as an example. The dog looks forward to seeing them, or is happy to see them, because you feed that dog. If you didn't feed that dog, it will turn on you, because that's what it needs to do. It needs to eat. And if it doesn't eat, then it changes its temperament. Even humans also have animal in them, right? So their temperament also changes when they're not getting what they want. This is why the mind has to override the feeling. And when you operate on feelings, not saying you shouldn't have feelings, but you have to have your feelings in check or in control. And this is what happens when people are not in control of their feelings. They may become angry, which is going low in terms of a vibration. And that then might lead to an action, or their energy then becomes in motion that leads to an action that they may end up regretting. Now, if you are in control, then you could be hungry, you could be in an uncomfortable situation or state, but your mind will override that, and you can be quiet and calm and patient and wait till you get some food. But some people can't, because their mind is not as strong or as powerful, to the point where their mental power is not strong. So they will, in situations, will fall apart because they're going to lead off of their emotions. And this is why you hear a lot of people who talk about how they feel. It's, I feel this, I feel angry, I feel mad, I feel excited, I feel. Because no one can take away your feeling, but do you react on your feeling in a positive or negative way? Because that's where the control of the mind comes in. You see, so a dog can be happy to see its owner because it recognizes that the owner is responsible for providing its food or feeding it. And that's simply what it is.
Okay. So my second question is, I just want to know, like, we have a Pleiadian who is blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and let's say you have a white American person that is an earthling. Is a Pleiadian more genetically advanced than a white American person?
That when you say white American person, it's like very vague and broad. But when you say a Pleiadian, remember the Pleiadian, it depends on which white American person you're talking about, because we don't put everyone in the same category or box, because people are different beings. A Pleiadian is an extraterrestrial from the Pleiades star constellation, and so by that nature, in terms of being an extraterrestrial, they're gonna be more intelligent in terms of what they know and their ability to be able to even travel intergalactically. But you have to also remember that the beings on the planet are offspring of these extraterrestrials. So there are beings that are made here only, that are hybrids, but you have every being, or the main root races, they are the children of different extraterrestrials. So as you already know, that the Nagaru, our ancestors or descendants, because they came down, they descended here, are the Nagaru. And you have, the Mongoloids, or the Asians, or the Dravidians and the Sovans, they have their ancestors, as you're saying, the Adamites, their overlords are the Pleiadians, and they are genetically related to them, but they also grafted them with, like you say, the Homo porcine, the Homo canine, and the Homo simian. They have those DNA, and they have the genes in their DNA, their genetics. So intelligence is not based on your appearance in terms of your composition or skin color or whatever. It's based on the knowledge and how you apply that knowledge. So you have to look at what they're doing. Sorry?
I'm just wondering, like, so the Pleiadians, the only advanced thing that they have over white human beings is that they're more intelligent.
That's what I'm saying. It's a very, like you're saying, the only. No, there's many things in terms of, if you are able to know information, like for example, how to cure certain diseases, how to, travel, like I said, intergalactically, how to solve certain problems, then you're going to be more intelligent than somebody who doesn't know how to do that. But what I'm saying is that where you try, your questions are very psychical, that we go around in circles. But what are you trying to reach or get to? You're trying to say that our extraterrestrials are more intelligent than Human beings? Is that what you?
Basically, yes.
But a human being can be more intelligent, but they just don't have access to that knowledge or that information. And this is why you have to exercise and learn more to reactivate your brain power, because most people are not using the full capacity of their brains, whereas some extraterrestrials, they use more than the average human brain's capacity.
But you're saying that once a human being starts using 100% of their brain's capacity, we'll be the most intelligent or one of the most intelligent in the universe. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, the intelligence comes from the amount of knowledge you have and how you apply it. Meaning, like, some extraterrestrials come here and they make deals with the governments, the people in power and control, to say, we will give you the cure for this, or we will give you this technology, and in return you give us something. So there's an exchange. So, you know, like the cure for polio, or like the hovercraft or stealth. I mean, this is what is recorded by different extraterrestrials making deals with, you know, different governments around the world, especially in America and, you know, Russia and China and all these other places. They do have contact with extraterrestrials, and they trade with them and give them technologies and certain things, cures for diseases, etc. So, but we as Nagaru, we are now being raised back, because for the last 6,000 years we were suppressed and we were given things that were keeping us down, and humanity, in fact, it was, you know, suppressed. But the time has come where we have to raise our vibration and raise our consciousness to the point where we're starting to learn about these things, of how something as basic as how to be able to treat each other, treat the animals, treat the nature and the planet and the, you know, the trees, and, you know, how to live in harmony. These are all basic things that we're supposed to learn, but because of the entities or the deities of over these books and religions, they have people acting less than animals in the way they behave. But I think I've given you quite a lot of time, because there are so many questions waiting to be answered. So I'm gonna have to leave it there, but you have to study and get hold of some of the scrolls that go into more detail about what we teach.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get back to the chat and see what questions we have. Alexandra, thank you for your time. You're welcome. Right, next question. Guyanese in the house. Questionnaire Viper 9. Rahul Bat. Okay, here's another question. Trauma to triumph. Watching you from Kenya, Rahul Bat. I watch you guys all day, binge watching and absorbing all the knowledge I can. Thank you so much. Even my kids are watching with me. That's fantastic. You mean your children? Kids are baby goats. We got a live caller, so let's go. Rahul Bat, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Rahul Bat. My name is Benedict. I'm calling from South Africa.
Oh, Rahul Bat, Zamata.
Okay, so my question is, when meditating to receive affirmation, are we receiving only from our agreeable ancestors, or are there other agreeable beings, like other agreeable extraterrestrials, that give us these answers simultaneously?
Tua, when you say we're meditating to receive affirmation, that's good, but you're not always, because there are different beings on different vibrations and different frequencies, and this is such a good question, because there are different ways and methods of meditating, and and there are other beings that are on these frequencies that will try to influence you or take control or distract you. So eventually what you're doing is you're tuning yourself in, right? To if you think about it this way, when you look at a radio, on the radio, especially the old radios, not the digital ones, you used to have the knob that you tune that dial, right, to go to the right frequency. And as you're tuning through, you will hear other vibrations or other noises or other radio stations, and some of them are clear, some of them are just static, right? And you will go, that one, you're just gonna hear white noise, like, then you're gonna get to a station that you want to tune into. Sorry, I'm getting feedback. I don't know if it's you, but yeah. So like, if we were tuning into our ancestors whilst we're meditating, they may be on vibration of 99.9 kilohertz, right? So you're gonna go to that frequency and you tune in and you lock it in, and then you start to receive that information. But it takes time for you to know how to avoid the other frequencies that you're not trying to tune into. So then, yes, once you know that and you connect with them, you will know and hear their voices clearly. That's where you'll be receiving the information from. And every now and again, some other person that is also looking for a frequency that they're trying to lock into might try to get into yours, and then they can distract you for that moment. But you have to learn how to block them out. See, the power of learning and having the ability to do certain things, it's not just the ability to be able to do it, but to also be able to control and lock out everything else. So for example, telepathy works like the way I just described, a radio dial trying to tune into the right channel. So with telepathy, people say, you know that means mind-to-mind communication. So does that mean you're going to listen and open your mind to 1,000 people at the same time? Because that in itself will be very chaotic. So you have to learn that, okay, I want to learn telepathy, but I want to be able to tune it to a particular person who can hear me and I can hear them, not everybody else's conversation, you see. So it's also about the control of your ability or power once you get it.
Okay. Another question is, as someone with mixed African ancestry, would language be a barrier when communicating with ancestors?
Not at all, because when people say language, they're thinking about the language they like for example, it might be English you're thinking in.
Yes.
But English is something that only came way afterwards. And it kind of relates to the previous answer I gave about telepathy, because these extraterrestrial beings, they're able to speak with you mind to mind, and you will just understand what they're saying. So language can be, you can speak in many different ways. Like music is language, for example, like symbols are language. So you don't necessarily have to speak. But if you don't know any other languages, they can literally make you hear. And it's like, you can imagine you're listening to somebody that's speaking another language, but you can hear exactly what they're saying, because there is an interface that will, even now people are using their devices, mobile phones, to like, do the conversion from one language to the other.
Yes.
So that is possible as well, where they can just make sure you can hear them. But if you're speaking in your own tongue, say your own African dialect or something, it's going to be more potent to your ancestors who also speak that tongue. Yeah, so if you can speak to them in your language, then they will hear you, because obviously that's a much powerful language to use.
Right. Okay, so then the next question is, are there any books that addresses meditation for beginners? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, we actually do have a part to that, and the master teaches us through various orders. For obviously newcomers, sometimes you have to be patient, but there are books like, we were in the ancient mystical order of Melchizedek, or the ancient Egyptian order, where, see, a lot of the information that we teach publicly is separate from the information that you get taught in the orders, which are more towards the spiritual aspect, or what we would call like the Sufi order, or the orders that deal with the spiritual aspects of your life or living. So if you go on Google or go on the internet today, there's going to be a million people telling you how to meditate. But the best information is in wu-sabat. So you just have to, there's a book called Concentration, another one called Relaxation, and another one that deals with meditation. And obviously, in our book, The Spiritual You, Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, we go into meditation and how to do it on this as well. So if you don't have that, get hold of that.
Okay, just one last question, and I'm digressing here, but how much does our diet or eating meat specifically hinder our spirituality?
Oh my goodness, it hinders it a lot, because as I was just saying to the brother that was asking about animals, animals are on low vibration, so that's when they're alive. When they're actually dead, it's dead flesh, and that is not the vibration is very low. There's no real nutrients or essence in dead things. So when you're eating dead things, especially animals, they slow you and hold you back. They hold you down on a low vibration, and and you're also taking in their DNA and taking in any type of trauma or anything that that they have also experienced when they were being unalived, or whatever stresses they went through. So yes, definitely.
So if you're transitioning into vegetarianism or being a vegan, do you think it's conducive to do some sort of cleansing, like parasite cleansing or detoxification?
Tua, absolutely. You have to. You can do it. You can do it. Sorry. My sister's here, and one of my sisters, and she's going to talk a little bit on because we've got a workshop coming that's going to go through these the transition to really vegan or plant-based, because vegetarian, it's better than eating meat, but it's still not that great, because you still consume dairy products, and you still consume dairy products which give you a lot of mucus, and mucus traps like metals in your body. So it's being a vegetarian, it's a little bit better than being a dead flesh consumer. But being a vegan or eat plant-based is actually much, much better. And I think that was very well timed, because my sister's she's going to talk about the workshop that's going to help people that want to transition from...
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Anuki kawas zamaltat. Wantat?
Anuki wawe.
Tour. Okay, so we're just waiting for her to begin.
Rahubat Moisa. It was great timing, everything as it's supposed to be. We do have an event coming up on Saturday, May 30th. We do have limited space, so we have limited tickets in store, but we will be making the event digital as well. It's Each One Teach One workshop. This is part one. And in part one, this session, we will be exploring tricks of plant-based milk, smoothies, mushroom hacks, raw sauces and dips to help us transition and maintain a lighter, healthier journey. As I said, you have a few limited in-store tickets where you can come, join us, taste the food live. We'll be making fresh milks. We'll be using things like a walnut, for example, and using it in multiple different ways. We do like walnut meat, we make walnut milk, we make walnut porridge, and just exploring all of the different options of a plant-based lifestyle. The workshop program is Each One Teach One, so we're asking everyone who comes to join us, whether you're in person or you're online. We want to learn from one another, so bring whatever tips or trades you have that you use at home. It's all about us just coming together in love and unity and going on this journey together as one. So tickets will be live later on today. If you don't get a ticket in store and you live locally and you miss out on the tickets in store, you please just join us online. This will be part 1 of 8 parts. We will be exploring meals, breakfasts, how to fast, how to break your fast, what to have to break your fast. We will be at some point exploring cosmetics, making your own cosmetics, toothpastes for yourself, your family, your loved ones, your children, lip glosses, face masks, body butters. So we're going through the whole household sprays, everything. So everything that we can do and use naturally is a part of a course. So yeah, come and join us. It should be fun, and bring whatever tips you have as well. I don't think there's anything else
No,
that
that's
I haven't
good.
missed out. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. And obviously, like with anything, when you're starting, it may be a little bit more challenging at first because you have to change your mindset. It's not just about the physical things, it's the mindset as well, like
Sure.
the habits you've had over the years and, you know, just little things. I mentioned, like, for example, water. As simple as that may be, like, because people wash their produce before, you know, like,
Sure.
what water do you use to wash? If
Well,
you think that the water from your tap has got fluoride, etc., etc. So there are tips and things that we need to overcome just to make the journey easier. And the more you're on it, the easier it does get. And when you're able to share tips from other people, like, you use mushrooms, but what do you do with those mushrooms? Or how do you substitute that craving for that flesh that you're trying to get rid of? What can you use to substitute? So yeah, it's going to be a great workshop.
And I think little by little as well, that's another thing. I think sometimes we try to deep dive. We say, don't eat anything with parents, and then everyone just wants to stop straight away. And just like everything takes time. It's about transitioning. And it's just about knowing and having the knowledge to be able to do better. So yeah, you do make small changes, it makes a big impact later on. So yeah,
absolutely.
Join us.
For that.
And Afu.
Right, and there's some really simple little tips as well. Like, this might be a little bit controversial, but you know me, I like to still talk about it. Let's have a discussion. Sometimes people have bad breath, right? And it's as simple as because they're eating meat and the flesh gets stuck in between their teeth, and it's already dead flesh and it's rotten. And so if you're not used to like flossing and then cleaning yourself, even just the dead flesh that is in your system for a while, because it takes time to digest. And when you pass wind, that can be quite serious, because some people, when they pass wind, there isn't that awful smell. And there's lots and lots of benefits and little things like that in terms of hygiene and how you feel lighter and your brain starts to be sharper. Like if you're having if you're having
No, your clothing too.
Oh yeah, thank you. I thought you were telling me there's something wrong with my... your clothing, the materials you wear, the lights and things because it's all vibration, it's all frequencies and energy, So even deodorants, so sometimes people try to use, deodorants and stuff, but they're just covering up. Because naturally, if you're on a plant-based diet or, a vegan diet, then there is no reason for those awful smells, whether they're coming from your mouth or from the rear end or from your pores in your body or from your armpits. There are many things that you find you transition, and it's just a lot more positive. But thanks for those who would like to get involved with that and for that question. So we've got another caller. Go on then, let's go for it.
So I have a question about a near-death experience that I had. I was in a fatal car wreck. I just remember being in the car and then I woke up in the hospital. So I have no memory of the accident. I did have a friend who passed away in the wreck. But again, like I said, I just remember driving and then I just woke up in the hospital confused of why I was there. So my question is about the afterlife, if you do have any insight, because it's like I was in a dark, avoided space, but it wasn't scary. The space I was at was super dark. Obviously, I couldn't hear or see anything. Everything was kind of like telepathically communicated. Like every question that I had was answered almost immediately before I could even think fully of the question. So that was like a little part I remember. I do remember having like quick flashes of different scenarios, not of my life, just like being in different places. But the last thing I do remember is like getting sucked backwards. But as I was going backwards, I remember seeing like an African man sitting on a bench with short dreads, and he was wearing a hat like the hat that you guys wear. Now, mind you, before this accident, I never saw this man before, never even noticed the hat, but it's kind of like I recall it so vividly. And I always wanted to know, like, I wonder, was that like a gatekeeper? Was it an ancestor? Because after that accident, that's when I got into ancient Egyptian religion and found out about it. So I was wondering, was that like spirit guides, or was it the afterlife, or my ancestors like teaching me the truth about things? Because I don't remember having a conversation with him. I just remember him just staring at me. But with him just staring at me, it's like a lot of things came to me for me to know, if that makes sense. But long story short, I just want to know, like, what plane was I on? Because it was a near-death experience. I was knocked unconscious, but I didn't pass away. I was able to regain consciousness. But I wanted to know, like, where was I at? What experience was that?
Tawat for the question. Thanks for the question. The thing is, it's called a near death. So you obviously were not dead, right? But as we teach in wu-sabat, there are different realms and different dimensions within the different realms. And people do visit these realms. And you have ancestors and beings that exist on these different realms. So yes, it's very possible that your physical body was, as you say, in the hospital, but your spirit and your soul can travel to the different spiritual realms, or what people call the soul realm. I spoke about that earlier on. Then you have other realms that are higher too. And the reason I mentioned about the dimensions is that people can go to what, let's say, you're calling the soul realm, which is what people consider going to heaven when they have these experiences. And they may go to one dimension of that realm and experience things in that one dimension, but there are other dimensions within that same realm. And others may go to another dimension and experience or have a different experience in that dimension on that realm. So different people will go to different dimensions of different realms, and they experience, because it wasn't here in the physical world that they're used to, when they come back into their physical skin suit. Because another thing that we're taught and we teach in wu-sabat is that you have another part of you other than your physical, your spiritual and soul and your mental, called the etheric or the etheric you, which is tied to the ether realms, right? Which again also have different dimensions, and you are connected to your being by an etheric cord. The etheric cord is like when you come into the physical world, you're connected by your umbilical cord to your mother, but that gets severed. Your etheric cord, it's like if you imagine a cord, or like an elastic band is a bad example, but I'm using it to emphasize that it stretches, right? And it can stretch and stretch because it's etheric, or it's not literally physical. It can stretch anywhere you go and it can pull you back. So when you are out of your body, you're still connected to that etheric cord, and this is how you travel back, and you can travel out as well. And so, yes, people can experience different things, and then when they return back to their physical body or their physical skin suit, they remember their experience from being in one of those realms, in one of those dimensions in that realm, and they would relay their testimonial. If they're a religious person, it doesn't even matter whether you're from one of the monotheistic religions, because these things, when we start to go into reality and go into like science and go into things that happen to everyone regardless, you know, they will come back. If they're religious minded, or they'll have a religious mindset, they're going to say, oh, I went to heaven. And then they're going to describe their experience and who spoke to them and who met them and whatever took place. Sometimes it is your ancestors. Sometimes it's a being that is higher on that vibration and is, or even like you call them, your guardian angels that are there to help and guide you. And they will instruct you, help you along in terms of how to navigate that realm, and then you come back. So yeah, possibly it could be one of your ancestors, it could be, but obviously that was your experience. I wasn't there, I didn't experience it with you, so I'm only giving you information based on what we're taught by the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. So yes, that's the answer to that question. All right. Go on then. After that, I'll go answer some questions in the chat because it's only fair. All right, voice note, go ahead.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for taking my question. My name is Stella, and I'm asking about I want to know in regards to the ancestors, what else can I be doing to connect with them? I chant and I talk to them. I've been trying to improve my diet by cutting off meat. Been deworming, detoxing, fasting. I'm just curious, is there a different or additional things I should be doing to connect with my ancestors? Thank you.
Tua, Rahul. So remember, we focus on our culture of wu-sabat, and we have directions and rituals and things that we do as Musbatu, right? Sabian. So, and depending on who you are and who you're calling at your ancestors and how you're trying to communicate with them may be different to what we do. That's why if you're practicing and living the way of wu-sabat, then we give you the instructions in terms of what you should do. However, you should never be in a haste or rushing or like wanting instant results, because these things can take time. And you know, just take your time, and sometimes it's the more you want something, the more less likely you are to get it, because you need to, like I was saying, be like relaxed and calm about how you go about doing things, because you know, like you're forcing it, it may not happen for you as quickly as you want, because there are lessons to be learned even in terms of patience and how, you know, you're not trying to be in a hurry to get everything, you know, right now, today. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, I'm just talking in general. So when you say what else can I do, you're doing the right things in terms of studying, reading, changing your diet, changing the way you behave, changing your environment, changing who you're around. And that does take work and does take time. You know, you got to heal yourself. And if you're under stress and, you know, different types of mental stresses, it will also have a hindrance or an effect on you, you know. So don't be in a hurry, take your time. And if you are following or wanting to follow or learn the ways of wu-sabat, then, you know, we've been, I think we've posted the Telegram group. If we haven't, we're going to post that. Join that Telegram group, because we have answered many questions, the same questions over and over again. And some people get impatient because they're just a bit selfish and thinking about themselves. Like, why are you asking that question and we're hearing the same answer over and over again? You have to remember, everyone's at different levels, and some people are going to ask the same question again and again and again. The beauty about our Telegram group, which is an app you have to download on your phone, on your device, like WhatsApp, which is another app. You download it and you click on the link that you download it, install it, go through the basic security and all that, and then you click on the link from our chat, the official Telegram group, you join, and we already have so many questions answered that you can just get the information by searching. There's a pinned message at the top where you can watch and learn how to use the platform properly. So, and people that are impatient and think, you know, I know it all now, which is not the case because you learn from cradle to grave. But if you know so much, then it's time to put it into action. You know, go to the stores, go to the community, go and help other people, start propagating, start teaching, start running workshops, start doing things and helping build. There's a lot of work we do, you know, not just sharing and teaching the information. There is actual work to be done. If you have skills, you know, bring those skills, let's use them, because you can always continue studying and learning, but you can start putting into practice what you already learned. Because people will say, you know, I am an Nuwapian man, or I am Sabian, but then you never see them, they're not active or they're not involved. And this is something we have to stop. It's about, you know, each one teach one, and each one share and get involved. Participate, don't just spectate. All right, so let's move on to the next question. I watched Dracula, this is from Trauma to Triumph. I watched Dracula as a child, and for so many years I lived in fear until I was in my 30s. I really fought to get over the fear. There isn't a question there, but you're right, Dracula is something that when you really study Dracula and the whole story and what it's about, it's what we experience every day, in the sense of, we were talking about energy vampires before, we were talking about people on low vibration, right? Because when you look at the whole story of Dracula, it actually goes back to beings that need blood, right? They need blood to survive. And those are known as hemophiliacs, or beings that, you know, were not able to keloid. And so, you know, what Dracula is someone that comes out in what they call the night, where he avoids the sun because the sun is harmful to him. And so what he does is he roams in the night and he finds victims as a source of blood to subsist from. But the thing is that once he bites them, or, you know, uses his fangs and he bites them and sucks the blood out of them, they now also transform and they also become vampires, and then they go out to do the same thing. And when it's coming to daylight, he has to return back to what? To his grave, or go back into out of the light, out of the rays of the sun. The sun will harm him, all right? So, or any of those beings that also become transformed to becoming vampires. So yes, as a child, it's a very scary thing to watch, because when you store these images, they remain in your subconscious mind for years, and they can form all types of nightmares and all kinds of things, right? But when you bring that to today, you're dealing with what we're calling the sun cycle and the rays of the sun coming in, which many people are afraid of, and they refer to it as global warming. And they say that the sun is gonna burn them up or give them skin cancer, because, you know, if you're not a melanin producing being, then that's the risk of getting skin cancer from the sun. So we're now in a day and time where the transformation is happening on the planet, and it ties into your DNA, it ties into your genetic markers, it ties into people who their DNA is toxic, you know. So the sun gives us what we call outformation as well. So there's energy in the sun that will transform you genetically. And so, yeah, some people are afraid of the sun and they need to subsist off of other people's energy and the vibrations and the negative vibrations and the things that bring you down to a vibration they can feed off of, extraterrestrials and their children, etc. All right, so that's a good point you're making. All right, we got another question. Rahubat, thanks for the video, and I had a tape on a CD years ago about the Zulu priest from Credo Mutwa. Okay, Rahubat to all master teachers. All right, yeah. He was talking about many things to do with, you know, their ancestors and where they came from, and even had a map of Sirius A, B, and C that now astrologists have kind of discovered, when he had that without any telescopes or any equipment to be able to know that. So that's something that is useful as well to know. You can find that whole story in the Holy Tablets by the Master Teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. by the way. So basically, when us colored folk buy land, they view us as a threat. Okay, those are not questions. Father Abraham, you got not. Okay, no questions there. Okay, people are not asking questions, they're just making statements. Okay, I think this might be a question. I have a video of portals opening in the sky with angels flying. In the video is 2 parts, 1 minute in one video, and one video 8 angels and a dragon and something that might be God is can share. Okay. Your concept of what you're calling angels, but again, there's no question there. Question, could you expand on the book of Revelations, which is supposedly written by John of Patmos? When you say expand on the book, we don't have time to go through the whole book of Revelations, but there are significant parts of it, like if you read Revelation 12, Revelation 12, 7, 12, 9, it talks about there was a war in the heavens, and there was a being known as Michael and his angels. They fought against the dragon and his angels, and that war meant that the dragon, who is also known as the devil, was cast down to this planet, right? And then it goes on and talks about the devil and his seed. A third of them, which were disagreeable angels, they were cast down here. Then he talks about the mark of the beast and who the beast is, and that it's, you know, the number 666, which goes into a lot of information, and that is the children of the devil that were cast down here. They use this mark in the book of Revelations, is telling you that if you don't have the mark of the beast, then you will not be able to buy or sell. And when you start to break that down, it ties into when you look at the methods of payment that you use today, such as the credit cards, with, you know, the Visa was the most predominant one, and then you started to get MasterCard and all the other cards. And the products, when you look at products, any product you see that has a barcode in it, it has 2 long lines and then the rest are short. Those lines are 666. If you don't know this, you can check it out. The symbol of Visa, the actual word, VI, is the Roman numeral for 6, right? V and I, 1, 6. Then you have the S. It's also, when you study how numbers, letters have numerical value, and this S represents sigma, and that's also a 6. And the A, also in the abjad system, which is a system used where numbers are given to letters, that's also a 6. Then when you start to look at, like I said, there's so many things in society that tie into not being able to buy or sell, right? It goes into a variety of things, including sanctions, where countries are, you know, are not allowed to be sold to, or sanctions are put on them, etc. There's so much to the whole book of Revelations. But as you go through it all, it then talks about read 9/11. Very interesting, because it ties into what took place on September the 11th. And it talks about what will happen and how Babylon the Great was going to fall. So when you read that chapter 18, you read verse 2, it then talks about, come out of her, my people, so that you shall not partake of its iniquities. And it goes on and it talks about Lucifer, and you know, there's so many things in society that tie into that, the people that are pushing this. And then the Luciferians, that's what I'm talking about. We have many books that go into that. I'll show you a few. But yeah, then it talks about those who triumph in the end and come out of her, and they lived after they watched Babylon falling. So you have like this book, Leviathan, yeah, which is called 666, Leviathan, the Beast as the Antichrist, part 1 of 4. We have the Luciferian Conspiracy, which also is talking about the being you're calling Lucifer. I've got that here. Okay, this is Leviathan, of the second part to the one I just mentioned. So yeah, there's a lot. I'm trying to just give you, because you just said expand on it, but really the master teacher has put out books on it. The Luciferian Conspiracy, who's Lucifer, who are the Luciferians, and what is the conspiracy. We have many books that go into that. So if you do want to know anything specific about the book of Revelations, then you should ask specific questions about that particular point, because it's a lot of information. All right. Okay, we have a live caller. Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from, and what's your question, please?
I'm calling from California, Oakland.
Yes, what's your name, sir?
My name is Pele.
Right, go ahead. What's your question?
Originally, I'm a Ghanaian.
Okay, what's your question?
My question is, it's a question, and it's an information which I've been trying. I was in Ghana, I was in London, that was in December last year. I tried to reach you, but I didn't get to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so please, if you have time, let's talk this. I'm so happy I got you today. And this is a dream. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I had a dream, 2009. Okay?
I'm listening.
Yeah, and in the dream, I heard a grandson wake up. And when I wake up, I saw these 3 giant in their white garment. I'm going to send you the picture that I only saw that image from your teachings. And that's why I want to reach out to you so that I'll get some answers. Okay. And they told me that since the beginning of creation, there's something that my ancestors throw it away. And in the family, nobody can retrieve that thing that my ancestors thrown it away. It is only me that I can take that. And I asked them, I've sent you the image. I think you call them the Igigi or something.
Yeah, I know the image you're talking about.
Okay.
The Riskians.
So
yeah.
So I asked them that where can I find this, and they said I should come. So I wake up, and they said come with us. So I walk with them. We get to some place, and they said it's here. So you see, it's like a dumping site, but they dig a hole and then pour a lot of rubbish in the hole, and they told me that it's here. So I should clear the rubbish. So I cleared the rubbish a bit, and then I got to the thing. And then when I got to that thing, I lifted up. I will send you the image. And when I woke up from the dream, I drew it. And this is serious. They've been visiting me frequently, and I need some answers. So they give. I took up. I pick up the thing, and when I raise it up, they said, "Grandson, you have done well," and they disappeared. They vanished. So I will send you the image, what I pick up, and then yeah, it's designed in brass. It's in brass form.
Okay.
And the design and everything. When I send it to you, I think you can break it down. But I begin to understand. It's like it's a craft. Okay, and then they vanish. That was 2009. And 2009, I've never heard of Nuwapians. Yeah, because I spent 5 years in the Middle East. I was a Muslim. I stopped being a Muslim. I went to Christianity, and I stopped being a Christian. And, I was just walking around, searching for the truth. And I became a Rastafarian, went to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, Haile Selassie Palace, Kenmina Lake. I've been to all these places, just seeking. I call myself the seeker. Yeah. So I've never heard of Nuwapians before. But one day, I think I was in Australia.
Yeah.
And then my fiancé told me, I told my fiancé about this dream, and my fiancé said, have you heard of a group people called Dr. York and the Nuwapians? And then she introduced me to your YouTube page. So I began to follow. I listened to Dr. York, and through that pages, I saw this image. And this image is exactly what I saw.
Tour.
And then after that, they started visiting me. The last visit they visited me, I was in Sydney. That was last year again. They visited me with a craft. It was in a triangle and 3 suns. You see the triangle shape?
Yes,
and
yes.
Three. The front have a round light, and the square side and side have round light. And then it was just like children are playing. 3 kids, 3 young boys, like age 12. So I got there, and then I say, what are you guys looking for? And then immediately they vanish. And then they draw my attention to look into the sky. And then when I look into the sky, it was in the cloud with the symbol of the triangle and 3 pointed light.
Yeah.
Bright ones, and the light is bigger as the sun, like that, 3. And then when I stare at it, the leader at the front came out from the cloud and came down to me.
Right.
And when it came down to me, it came up to my feet, and it didn't touch the ground, but it was spinning, and the whole place was bloom of brightness.
Jamal, yes.
And then this beam of light, it raised up from the ground again and come to my chest and speak to me. He told me, he said I should stretch my left hand. You see the left hand when you stretch off the finger of pointing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the beam of the light, he speak to me, he says, stretch the finger of pointing. And when I stretch that finger, the same light turned into a blue dolphin immediately.
Yeah.
And it was bright and shining. And when he turned to blue dolphin, he came to the finger that I point and kiss that my finger. And then when he kissed that my finger, the something started growing between the mouth of the dolphin and between my finger.
Sorry, because we do have a lot of other questions to answer, and
okay, I'll just end this now.
Yeah,
so that
please.
when you have time, we'll talk. Okay.
Okay.
So as it was spinning, and then it grew. Something grew in the middle of my finger and the mouth of the dolphin, like a staff.
Yeah.
And then immediately, when it grew like a staff, and then immediately he turned back to the ball, and then he said, "Anytime you need me, just rub your hand on that staff and call me, and I will come."
Do you know what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just said something, that last part you said, oh man, you put me in a position I have to share now. I've had that same experience, but not exactly as yours, but I want to show you a few things. So in terms of pyramids, you know, the pyramids in ancient Egypt, and this is what I've shown you here, it's called the Pyramid of Truth. And as you can see from that, it covers a lot of symbols. And I'm showing you this because of what you were saying about the, and this is another one, the symbols, right, of the pyramids and the lights and so on. These two symbols I've shown you, the pyramids, as you know, because in Giza, they're still trying to decipher who built the pyramids and what they're for and all that, the mathematical equations and everything that relate to the pyramids. And those three main pyramids, they actually line up with the belt of Orion, which is where it's a gateway of how you go through to get to the 19th galaxy, which those beings come from. They're known as Riskians, or the Gigi of them are, you know, a separate class. And the galaxy is Ilion, right? And the planet Risk is where these Riskians come from. And the master teacher, as Parnabab Yanun or Yanun, is one of those beings, the 19th elder. And there's so much information that, you know, we can go into, but it's dealing with these 9 ether beings that are very, very advanced. And your experience, obviously, is your experience. And there are things you're saying, and I can hear that nothing you said is surprising to us, and it's a message for you, and you have to be amongst the right people, right place to receive guidance that will help you decipher the messages and everything that you're experiencing. But as you say, that's again a testimonial in terms of confirmation of what we teach, and that
I have a lot to give you. I told you they've been visiting me. I have a lot of information.
Right, but what I'm also saying,
they already told me. They told me that my time has come. They have given me this symbol that I give you, the triangle. It's a bedmark on my. It's on me.
right, Zamar. What I'm trying to tell you is, you have to be aware where to divulge and share certain information, because, you know, just for your own protection and good as well. So what I'm saying is, yes, you need to be, your ancestors are with you, they're guiding you, as you say. What I'm saying is, you're confirming that, for example, you said you've been through the different religious school on your journey seeking, and you went to Islam, you went to Christianity, you went even to, you know, being a Rastafarian, and this is what we're saying, that when we teach and we say to people that when you're a sincere seeker of truth, that's why I show you the Pyramid of Truth. If you're sincere, you will be guided to wu-sabat. You will be guided to the truth, because the truth will prevail and nothing can stand against the truth. And so that in itself shows the journey you went through to arrive here. And as you said, your fiance, who's a sacred feminine, because we're dealing with this time period we're in, is the woman being reactivated and coming back to her own power, and will then help you know, the male counterparts as well. So there's a lot you've said, and you have to be disciplined now. You have to get involved and get closer to us as you're doing. And there'll be other secrets or things that are sacred that will be shared with you. And yes, it's about you now living that path, and you get to learn more. And of course, the master teacher is the one that will be able to really explain and help and guide you further in a spiritual way and other ways. So it's glad
Thank
that
you.
you're sharing this with us, and yes, do send it to us. And the fact that you saw things before you even saw it by us in terms of the images you're sharing. And I can definitely myself personally attest to the similar experiences that you're talking about. So I was laughing when you were saying certain things because I was like, wow, like another confirmation, you know, like you get so many confirmations about what the master teaches, who he is, and so on and so forth. So it's just great when we hear people that you know, wu-sabat is reaching in that way. But yeah, definitely stay close, and we will build from there. Somebody was asking, sorry, have you finished? Is there anything else before we move on?
I just want to, I know a lot of people are there, but I just want to say, anytime you have time, because, you know, I came to London, that was last year, 2025, and I tried my possible best to reach you because I've got siblings in London.
Right.
So, and, you know, it was not possible, but I believe that, you know,
The right time, yeah.
that the right time.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, we, you
they
know,
told me
you're in our are you in the Telegram group?
no, I'm not on the Telegram. Can you send me?
Yeah. We'll post it
myself,
now in the
okay?
chat for those who would like it, and then we can stay in touch. And you can always email info@osmvision.co.uk and leave a message, and you know, we can reach you then. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Tawat. Yeah, someone on YouTube saying that we're answering questions. Yeah, I can see my brother Sakam is answering questions on YouTube. So that will at Sakam Sanan for doing that. And yeah, we are answering questions from Telegram and YouTube and everywhere else.
I've got a question from that person because they did ask in the beginning.
Yeah. Go on then.
It says, if UFO disclosure and open contact are supposed to happen within the next 2 years, when does truth about a religion come out? And how does that look? Do world governments speak out with the help of the ETs?
It's already happening. It's like everything is happening right now. It's just if you are someone who is not remotely like concerned about what's going on around you, then you're not even like gonna be aware of what's going on. So when you said disclosure has happened and it is happening, and you know, just Google it on YouTube, like United States government have done disclosure. You got people like Stephen Greer, if I'm pronouncing his name properly. Yeah, he talks about this openly. There are many things, you know, from the president of Russia, and many things have been disclosed. And this is the year of disclosure. And remember, we always teach that the scriptures, all of the monotheistic religions talk about this time. They say when the truth comes, all false things will perish. For them to perish, they have to be exposed, and then they will perish, right? So we're living in a time where the 6,000 years of the dominion of the Adamites, who were the ones that were pushing religion, and you know, we were in a state of amnesia. And now, with the opening of the seventh seal in 1970 by the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, the pamphlets of peace started to pour out to the world. And, you know, we have bulletins called the truth bulletins. And he was, you know, teaching the true light, you know, the true light tapes back in the days. And so this information has been out. And in terms of extraterrestrials, so many people have given their experiences of being abducted. People see crafts, film crafts. It's just that it's just getting more and more obvious to people that never even thought about it. Like, for example, I can just tell you that all your life you've been taught about extraterrestrials, but you just call them angels, and you call them gods, and you call them Allah, and you call them all these names because heaven and these places were made to seem like a mystical place that is so far away. But the one thing they did tell you was that it was up there, right? And then the depiction of angels were what? Beings with wings that came from up there down here. And even the whole story about Jesus and certain prophets or whatever, Muhammad, he took a craft or a ride. They say a donkey because they didn't know how to break it down and interpret it. He rode that donkey to heaven, to the seven heavens, to speak with, as he says, Allah behind the veils, right? The person people speak about every day called Jesus, as they say, he went, when he was so-called unalived and went back, he went back to heaven to sit on the right-hand side of his Father, as they proclaim. But all of this is telling you that up is there, even when you're saying in the different languages, Samawati or Shem, or, you know, like you're talking about up where is heaven? Then you go to the religious books, they talk about these constellations, Uranus in the Greek, yeah, or which is Orion, which is where the three pyramids I was mentioning previously of Giza, they line up with the belt of Orion. And that's, like you say, you go to Ilion or to this planet called Risk, tri-solar system, you know. So extraterrestrials have been here from the beginning of what you consider time. And in the last 6,000 years, the whole Bible, Quran, all these books are extraterrestrial books. They're talking about extraterrestrial beings coming here and interacting with you human beings or beings that have evolved on this planet. So it's nothing like it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to get to a point where it becomes so common that, you know, everyone would be like aware of it, but you will see crafts, you will see things that, you know, they've been hiding away. I mean, now you just go scroll through TikTok or Instagram or any of these social medias platforms. Yes, AI is also being used to distort things because, you know, people that are controlled in terms of their mindset, they have to constantly keep them in that state by introducing things that make them feel like, oh, that can't be real or that's not real. So, yeah, when you say when, it's happening now. It's been happening and it will continue to happen. I just want to touch quickly on Miles Reynolds. I'm not going to like go into the back and forth for detail with you, but the reality is I can tell from what you're speaking that you're going by hearsay and not things you have researched for yourself. So all I would say to you is go and do your own research and not go by what you hear or what other people have said, because you're making very incorrect and false statements. And I guarantee you it's hearsay from other people, not you yourself taking the time to study and do your due diligence on the case. So you're putting out misinformation and then asking me to explain it. I'm not going to explain information unless you're willing to do your own research. So go and do some research, study the case, and you know, come back when you actually have done some research. Go ahead.
Just on the back of that last question,
Yeah,
about the exposure and everything, it says, I guess I'm asking, in the view of people who only listen to to what the government says, will there be a time for those people to hear the truth from governments who purposely lie and conceal?
No, because like I said, like you have to think about the agenda and why do they not want people to know this information? And a lot of the times is because they will lose control. And if you rely on someone as the source of your living and your provisions, and they require you to be subservient so that they can actually benefit from that, then they're not, whatever, like there are people who, they take everything that they get from the government, the govern, your mental government, like they take everything they say as gospel. Like they won't accept anything anyone else says. But when you start to go and look at research of what politicians do, or we say politics is politricks, because you've got two sides of the same agenda pretending and acting like they're not working together. So it's good cop, bad cop scenario, you know. So you have to be independent enough to do your own research and study outside of, you know, the programming or whatever you're given, and you just accept it without question. No one really can function that way. It's just natural to want to know the truth. It's natural to seek facts. Because, like, think about it. If you wanted to go somewhere, you have a destination to get to. Like, if you have no factual information on how to get there, it's going to be chaos because you don't know where you're going. Like, so how do you start? But if you think about a destination, like, you know your house, you know where your house or the front door of your house is, right? So it's vivid in your head. You know how to get there from whatever method of transportation or mode of travel you use to get there. So you're relaxed, you're chaos. You know that you have the right key that's going to open that door. Now, if you didn't know this and you just jumped on any like bus, train, cab or whatever and just headed in any direction and turned up at any random house and put your key in the door, it's not going to open. So what happens is that when you don't know something, when you don't know the information, it's chaotic. It's like, you know your mother and father, right? If you know them, like if you've ever known or had interactions, pictures or whatever with them, you know your mother and father, you know they exist because that's a confirmation by you being here that they exist because you came through them or from them, right? So because you know that, it's vivid in your mind. But then if I say that's your creators, if you have been programmed other than that reality to think, no, God is your creator, and then you say, well, who is God, or where is God, or how did God come about? And you look in your mind to see a picture of him. Why is he even a him, right? But I'm saying you're not going to see anything in your mind unless you see a picture that somebody has painted, like in the case of Michelangelo painting a picture in the 16th century and putting it on the ceiling to make you look up, to think God is up. And it's a particular image. Unless you're going to think of that as God, because then that leads to you thinking God has got a son because his son came down. And the funniest thing is, the way that the image of God painted looks like is how his son will be, because when people have children, the children look like them. If you're a father or mother and you have a child, the child looks in the image and your likeness. So that paints a picture in your mind of what God is like. And if the son looks like the father, then the son's got to look like the mother in terms of the imagery I'm talking that's in your mind. So this is all indoctrination, because then you look around on the planet and there are people who will also look like that image and others won't look like that image. So if we are all created in the image and likeness of God, why would we look different? Then it goes into another set of lies in terms of, you know, how people came about. When you look into the facts, it doesn't make sense. There's no God taking the dust of the ground and creating a man and pulling a rib to create a woman. And it just goes into more and more of the spell, which leads you into more and more chaos and confusion to the point where you're lost and you're accepting beliefs and dealing with things that you have not checked out or proven to be facts. So I'm saying that to say that people would accept things just because they fear or believe that the authority, they tell them this is what it is and they will accept that and that's it. And they don't go outside of, you know, they don't think outside of the box, as they say. But it's going to get to a point where some people, the majority is not always right, but that's what you're programmed to think. So they will just follow or go in a direction just because masses of people are going in that direction. Whereas those who take the time to do the research and check things out for themselves, confirm facts to themselves, you know, they're able to find out and get the truth. So, all right. I think we've actually answered all the questions in the chat so far. Let me just see if there are any others. Oh yeah, Balloons Jackson. He says, "Good day, sir. Have you ever listened to the interviews with Credo Mutwa?" Yes, a very, very long time ago. And yeah, we've been aware of him and have listened to him, and it's in our literature and the holy tablets and other scrolls. But yeah, he was interviewed by even David Icke and other people. So yeah, very familiar with his interview. Greetings. I saw a video on the channel talking about the asteroid that will hit near miss the Earth in 2029. Can you explain what it is as per Parnabab? They're different. You know, asteroids hit this planet all the time or miss it. And it's only the ones that are significant or that could cause, you know, significant damage that they talk about, or it kind of comes on the news. But yeah, there are different ones. Obviously, you've heard of Atlas. But the one that Parna Babyanun talks about, you find that in I was reading in the scroll called the 9. No, I read from the Bridge to Salvation. But in this scroll, the 9, he talks about that. And in terms of the meteorite, the chapter is called Meteorite, the meteorite as well. And that's near the end. I've read it before. Let me see if if it's short, I might read it again, since we don't have that many outstanding questions to answer. But yeah, if you go to, we got a question? Caller. Oh, caller, okay, give me 1 second. Yeah, so if you can't or haven't heard of this scroll called the 9, it's in there. The chapter is actually called, there you go, it actually is very short. I'll take the call in and I'll read it. But yeah, it's on page 103. It's called a meteorite. Read it first. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna just for time, I'm gonna skip the Nuapic. It says 1. Nuapians, know that the day shall soon arrive when the big meteorite shall strike this planet. All will be shocked. Fear of the end of the world. That is not the end of the whole world. Much destruction, much deaths and injuries, a day and days to follow. Because of it, people who were separated will join as one. The fears will have powers stronger than separations and racism. Apophis, Abaddon, Apollyon, destruction will change the minds and the hearts of the people, which is Revelation 9, verse 1 to 21, right? But there's also more information that we've given in the Telegram group of the meteorite that will hit in 2032. Okay, all right. Let's take the live. Rahul back. Call out. What's your name?
Dre from the States.
Hey, Dre. Another one of our good regular brothers. How are you doing today?
Always good, can't complain. I had a question. I was listening to what you were saying live, so that actually, sparked the question I had to ask. When you were talking about the extraterrestrials and pretty much how it's going to be normalized that they would be out and about, or some of them are already mingling or interacting with us and we don't know, and some of us know. Are we as non-ether Nagaru beings, are we still protected by our overseers and our ancestors? So those extraterrestrials that are disagreeable and that like to eat other, human beings, are we still protected that they won't attack us or, try to destroy us or eat us?
Some are, some aren't. This is why it's about your vibration and your frequency, that if you're applying what we're being taught and we're getting sticky and we're, in a particular environment together, then our light shows and Yes, some people are protected, especially if you're doing your best in living the culture of wu-sabat. And it's not just about watching videos. See, a lot of people have got into this. They just, oh, I watch your videos, I watch the videos, I watch the videos. Great, we appreciate, love that. But you also have to read and study the book and put the knowledge into practice. It's not just about the entertainment. So as you're transforming yourself, you're transforming your light, and they know and can see your light. And if we're collected in a together, collated, we are then seen as a bigger bright light. So yeah, it is about those who are doing the works and putting in the work so that they don't so that they do have the protection or the seal. Yeah, because the seal is mentioned. So yes, some are, some aren't, and it's all down to you whether or not you you put yourself on the menu or not. So yeah, go ahead. I'm trying to find an update as well as I'm answering your question. So please go ahead.
Another question too to what you just said, is that also too why the master teacher says that we have to have him out before 2032 because the meteor that's going to hit the planet?
We have to have him out even way before that. We have to have him out now because there are many things that, excuse me, that he has to teach us or share with us or do with certain people that you know, that he can't do unless he's out. And so yeah, they're like, you know, if you read in the 24 elders, he talks about, you know, the 12 females and the 12 males that he has to you know, do certain things with, the golden children that he has to touch. There are many things that he's still yet to do and pass on that. And remember this as well, collectively, we are judged collectively. So it doesn't matter if you alone are doing everything. It's not about one individual person. It's about humanity. It's about whether or not we collectively are ready to transition to the next stage of our development as human species, as well as, you know, the children that are being raised and groomed to be part of the 144,000 that would then help to do the work of teaching others and so on. So it's not just an individual thing, it's a collective thing.
Correct.
But those of us who are collectively doing and working together will be protected.
Correct. To add on to that, does the law the jurisdiction and the laws that we're under right now, could we possibly get him out because the laws that we actually under rulership are incorrect? It's a patriotic law that we're under that we're not supposed to be under because the federal government created laws that wasn't supposed to be created because we're not really supposed to be under a federal government rule and this patriarchy that we're under?
Absolutely, their laws are higher than that. So you have natural laws of nature, where that's why when we make statements like truth will prevail, or like there are things that will happen based on us in terms of our vibration and our mindset worldwide. If you operate on the 6th ether force, this kind of goes back to the beginning of the questions we had like earlier on, where it's about pulling down and pulling up. And 6 ether forces are they're literally dissipating from the planet. But if you keep living in 6 ether mind, 6 ether force, and living in the image of the beast, and you know, the diet and doing all the things that are pulling you down, it's like you're either a part of the problem or you're a part of the solution. So we are responsible beings on the planet who are not raising their consciousness and their mindset and vibration. And no one has any excuse because wu-sabat is here to help you do that. So it's kind of like people say they want liberation and they want truth and but if you're not applying it and putting it into action, you're just contradicting yourself. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you watch the movie The Matrix, where I can't remember his name. He says,
Neo or Morpheus?
no, the guy that's eating the steak, and he's like,
Yeah, Neo.
no, it wasn't Neo. It wasn't Neo. I know his name when I hear it, but he was like, I know this isn't steak, but ignorance is bliss. He's gonna pretend that it is steak. This is what people are doing. People know the truth, but they'll pretend and continue to do or live in belief, which is, did you find him?
Cypher.
Yeah, Cypher. It was Cypher. Cypher was the one that he sold out, didn't he? Because he wanted out of the Matrix because he wanted to go back to live in. And the Matrix is an excellent movie that is giving you this scenario of, do you want to stay in the world that you think, this illusion that is the Matrix, or do you want to be unplugged from it so that you can actually see the real world as it really is? And some chose to be unplugged, and when they did, they didn't want to stay because it meant work. It meant you had to deal with all the issues that, you know, the world has. And then they wanted to just go back into the Matrix and make belief and believe that everything they saw around them was real, but it was a simulation. And this is what's happening when people are waking up. You either wake up from the simulation or you just continuously live the lie. And when you wake up, it's hard work because you have to try and change, but you recalibrate your being. And that's what the master teacher is doing with the knowledge that we're being taught. And it transforms you or changes you if you apply it. And those who do will raise their vibration and go into 9 mind, 9 thinking, 9 acting. Or those who want to stay below, they're going to remain in the same mindset and just doing the same things all over and over and again. But worldwide, more and more people are waking up, you see. And it's a small minority that are controlling the masses with misinformation, with distortion of reality and all kinds of, you know, fake things that people don't know are bad for their being. So, but it did tell you when this being comes, he's bringing in the new sun cycle, he's bringing healing in his wings, he's gonna bring truth, which is going to make false things perish. You know, he's gonna defeat Lucifer and his angels, and he's gonna defeat the dragon. And yeah, it's a war every day, mental, spiritual, and even physical to a certain degree, where you constantly have to, like we were saying, like your diet, your environment, the people you're around, and just dealing with it on a daily basis. It's not an easy walk. That's why when I read The Bridge to Salvation, he said, we took a long walk on a short path. The short path is the time period from when he opened the seventh seal in 1970. And the long walk is the amount of knowledge and information you have to absorb. And it's not necessarily like you have to learn every single thing, but it's about what you learn and how you put it into practice. So he had an hour symbolically from the year 1970 to the year 2030. And even with all the knowledge and all the truth and all the 1,000+ books and videos and recordings and all the knowledge, and that the thing is, now it's funny, we see people on, it's been happening for years, we see people on YouTube, social media, TikTok, and they're literally regurgitating our information, which I laugh at sometimes, because I'm like, you all weren't saying this before we said it and before the master teacher taught us. But it doesn't matter because it's getting out into the world. Now I'm scrolling through like Instagram, TikTok, or any of the social medias, and so many people are saying what we've been teaching for years. So it's a good day.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a good,
But some of them are giving out misinformation. Like some of the things they're putting a twist on it or adding a lie to it.
That's right. Yeah, some people just do it for views and sensationalism, you know. They like to sound good and just get views and get likes, you know. That's the the world we live in that the equity is like how many likes you got, and you don't know any of these people, how many likes, how many views, and like you say, they do inflate certain numbers so that, you know, it seems like, because people have this mentality of following the majority. The majority is not always right, because if a lot of people are going in the wrong direction and they're heading to disaster, and you one are going in the other direction, you're going to look like there's something wrong with you, you know. But sheep do this, you know. Sheep head in the direction towards being slaughtered, but every sheep's just going in that direction. They don't know what's at the end of the destination. And now you have sheeple, people that go in the same direction without knowing where they're heading, you know. So the reality is every single person's got to like look deep down within themselves and say, do I want to know the truth, yes or no? And am I willing to, yeah, put it into practice? And it's not easy, because it comes with, like they say in religions, like trials and tribulations. You know, the master said it himself, if you do what I do, which is do everything to wake up people in the world, right, by telling them nothing but the truth, you are going to come under what? Scrutiny, slander, lies, you know, persecution, imprisonment, maybe even being unalived. And he said it on the recording, and if any of you do the same and like walk that path, you're going to face that as well. Maybe not to the extent that he has, but, and it's a reality. You know, people don't want to wake up from the sleep, some of them, because they think ignorance is bliss, but it's not. So you've asked a great question, and it's really down to every single individual, because you judge yourself.
Right.
Because the thing about it, religion teaches you're going to go to a point where you're going to be judged, and then you either go to this place called heaven, a fictitious place that no one's confirmed, or you're going to go to this fictitious place called hell that no one's confirmed. And so, you know, like you think that is reality when it actually isn't. So you have to decide that, okay, who's going to judge you? Then you're told this character called God. And then one day you figure out and work out that you are the God you're talking about. So you judge yourself by the decisions you make, by the actions that you put into place. And if you're doing the right things and putting in the work in wu-sabat and transforming yourself, then you're judging yourself. You also judge yourself if you keep putting in bad things into your being, because that's going to make you sick or ill. If you keep, you know, doing the things that are bad for your health, like, you know, smoking, drinking, taking drugs, or whatever other vices that people do, you're making the decision. So don't be surprised when that outcome is not favorable, because you knew that you shouldn't do something and you still did it.
Well, with that being said, to piggyback off that last thing, would a perfect example be like Michael Jackson? Because he started out one way, and then he found himself in the system, and he found himself actually alternating his facial features to look like the beast or the people that, you know, actually hated him. And then when he found that out, that's when he wanted to push for change and stuff like they don't really care about us, and try to expose the dark secrets of what's really going on. And then they ended up taking him out in the end, even though that he tried to alternate himself to look like them and adopt kids that, you know, are their type of kids. And then he still was taken out.
That's right. That's why you can't be anything other than yourself. And this is funny you should say that. I've got this actual fact. It's called who you are, not what you accept. You can try to be anything other than who you really are. It's never going to change who you really are. And you're right, a lot of people, it's called self-hate, people that try to be something else other than what they really are. And when you go into this industry, this is why everything you get involved in is good to have knowledge of it, because like if you don't know anything about the music business, because it is a business at the end of the day, and you know, let's say you get signed as a young artist. Remember, Michael was very young when he got into the music business. I've just watched the Michael movie as well, by the way, and yeah, it's entertainment. And but he was very young, and he was basically groomed by his father, if you watch the movie. And so he didn't really know or have the knowledge as a child. And children that grow up in that world, their parents are normally the ones that kind of either they've come from that industry and they want their children to follow in their footsteps, and they groom them and they sign contracts. The word is con, they get conned. And even recently Kanye West was talking about the contract situations, and like people sign contracts not realizing what they're actually signing, that they, you hear people say they signed or sold their soul. And there was a question that somebody asked about, selling your soul, and what does that really mean? But it's, you literally are owned by the industry, and they control what you can or cannot do. And if you don't know what the contract says, then you're held to it. And so yeah, sometimes the contract says, we own you, you are a product, we market you as we see fit. And if we want you to get your lips, get some type of cosmetic surgery, because that's the image we want to market, you already signed a contract, So there's so much to the music industry and music business, because it is a business, and those that want to make money and profits from it, they treat you like a product or a service. So a lot of young people now, obviously over the years, the whole music industry has changed, because before you used to go for major record labels to get your contracts. Then you had a lot of independent companies that started to become independent, but a lot of those independents were then controlled or owned by the major labels anyway. Eventually now it's got to the point where you can be self-published, self-managed, etc. And now it's all about streaming. A lot of the streaming services now own your music, so you can't get distribution unless you put your music on their platforms. And when you do, they own it, and you only get a small percentage. So, the music industry has changed a lot. But then you're now also being exposed to a lot of the sinister things that, people did to sell their souls. And a soul, just for those who may not know, it's actually a tangible thing. It's like it has energy, and you can take that energy like a bit like a battery. Yeah. So beings on the high level that know about this, they don't collect your soul whilst you're still alive or once you sign that contract. They wait till when it's time to collect. And normally that's at the time of your crossing. So, but there's so much of the whole music industry. They're like clones and all types of, things going on. And people might not know about cloning, so you have to, again, study. These are the things the master teacher was teaching us in the Man from Planet Risk book. That's going back to the 90s and even before then. So now that's also becoming very obvious now in terms of cloning. And there are intentions of why some people have a clone. And even in the ancient Egypt, ancient pharaohs were cloning, because it was looked at as you can use body parts as spears. If your heart gave up, you could have a ready prepared heart that you could use. But now you can look at it like these clones are able to duplicate and make more money. Like, for example, if I'm a clone and I'm here doing a job and I'm getting paid, and then I have another clone that's on the other side of the world doing a job and getting paid, and like, you don't know that I'm not over there or I'm over here. So you might go and see two concerts in different locations in the world, but it's the same being getting paid. But I'm just giving you an example that there are the way some of these beings think about cloning. They look at it as being positive, but then you create a lot of unnatural, in terms of beings that are not, they're soulless. They have a lot of problems as well that come with it, or disadvantages. So yeah, it's a lot going on in the world, and wu-sabat is here to help you, because our souls matter. And Pana Bab Yanun, Avatara Baba Yanun, is here, and we have to get him home as soon as possible. And that's in every single way you can think of. Like, even if you're just mentally meditating, visualizing, I could even use the word praying, and also like coming together, putting into practice what he's teaching you by way of Panataru. And yeah, that all helps, So yeah, I know I went long, but is there anything else before we wrap up?
That's it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And taka tera for Zamal. Are the supreme beings Nagaru, or are all extraterrestrial have supreme beings? Okay, you can only have one supreme, because supreme is like, English can throw you off. It's like, if you say there's the highest or the top, the supreme, then there can only be, so it depends on how, like, you might, when you measure things, there always has to be the highest, right? So as in, if you're measuring, like, how do you deduce what's better or bigger or taller or stronger if there isn't something to measure up to? So in that way, in that term of supreme beings, you're dealing with the 9 is the highest in terms of, I know people get caught up because, like, oh, 9 is just a number, it's base 10, but that's what we're using to measure. So if we're using another form of measurement, then we're going to use that as still the measurement, right? Because if you just go, there is no measurement. We just are. All is. People that are obsessed with measuring things, or competing, or wanting to know what's first and what's last, alpha and omega, and all these things that people say to try and say someone was there first. But if you just said all is, you can't take from it, you can't add to it. Because where would you take it from, and where would you get it from to add to it, and what would you be adding to it if all is? This is how Pana Bab Yanun, the master teacher, taught us. Like, your concept of beings, it's like that you get to a point where you're one, or you operate as one on that particular vibration. So if 9 is the highest, all beings that attain or get to 9, they're one. So it's not a matter of competition anymore, because all those that are on 9 are the highest. And then the next highest will be 8, and then 7, and then 6, and then 5, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then you go down in the other direction where you go lower and lower, right? So 9 ether is 9 ether. You can't get any higher than 9 ether if 9 is the highest. You see, I know people are going to be like, okay, if we didn't use, what if we didn't use that form of measurement, and when we say 9, we go to infinity, as they say, which is 9 to the 9th power of 9. You can't go any, like, unless we move to a different form of measurement. But the point is, 9 ether is a combination of all existing conscious and conscience gases. And then from those gases, you get sub-levels that come down. So the Nagaru, going back to your question, Carl Walker, 4989, the Nagarus are the supreme beings. And then you have sub-supreme beings of the amber light. And then, you come back, you come down to 6 ether beings, etc., etc. So yeah, the Nagaru beings would be in terms of the supreme beings. All right, and then you can start going into, okay, what are they composed of, and what makes them supreme? You start to go into like the composition or the elemental or the elements they're made of, and you start going into like what makes them superior. You start looking at melanin, and you start looking at the sun, and you start looking at all these other things that make you supreme, not by virtue of just saying you're supreme, but by natural nature. You see, because people will say, you got, like what you're saying, I don't accept or I don't believe it, I don't, okay, and then we're like, okay, present what you're saying that is superior. Like, oh, I've written books, great. How many books have you written, and have you written books on every subject? Like the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, he's written books, over 1,000 books on every subject. So we're not saying other people can't write books, but how many of them as a single author have written 1,000+ books, and not just on one subject, but on all subjects you can care to think about. And not only that, publish these books so people can scrutinize, and also standing in front of you to question and ask. And go on YouTube, go and listen to his recordings. You see for yourself, like he is that being, the one, like, and he's here to help you be like him and raise you to be like him if you choose to. All right. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. As usual, without you, we wouldn't be here, because we answer all your questions. Without your questions, there would be no life. So we want to appreciate, love everyone that helps, that donates, that likes the videos, that subscribes, and you'd be surprised, it's not as much as you think. Go and see, like we want to hit 1 million subscribers, 1 million views on all our videos. But as you know, you have to help spread the word, because it's not what you do, it's what you don't do that matters. Because you might think someone else is going to do it and you leave it to someone else. But if you just do your little bit, yeah, to help, do you care enough? Do you care about humanity? Do you not see the state of the world? Do you like what's going on? Do you like the wars? Do you like the famine, the tornadoes, the chaos, the injustice? You know, we can go on and on. If you don't like it and you want to change it, do something about it. Not just lip service, you know, get involved. And together, love, as in Ashuk, divine love, will conquer all. Tawkum, Mwesar, Wu Wadu.